You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Well, hello everyone and welcome in. Boy, we have got another big night coming up here on the Six Screens. Well, today is July 17th, 2021. And as usual, we were on Armageddon Watch. We are counting down the last days of the Watchtower. Stay with us. Well, there you have it. Hello, everyone, and welcome in. Welcome in. My name is Rick Farron, and I am coming to you from the epicenter of apostasy. That is apostasy from the Jehovah's Witnesses. We've had enough of them, and you're probably an apostate too, but I'm telling you, more and more people, you know it. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but you guys know more and more people are leaving the Watchtower. This is just totally unbelievable. And they're getting out. And why are they getting out? Is it because of the theological teachings? Is it because of the dark and tainted secrets? Is it because of the occult connection? Is it because of all the fear and drama that the Watchtower puts in people's lives? Well, I'll tell you, one of the biggest reasons why they're getting out of the Watchtower is not showing any love. No love to Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah, they continue to browbeat them. They continue to tell them they're not doing enough. They continue to tell them they need to donate more money. They continue to tell them that you got to come and help us build our media center and other facilities. So people have had enough. They are getting up, they're packing their bags, and they're leaving the Watchtower. Friends, we have been doing this program for 16 years. And we've been on here every Saturday night. I know every nick and crony, what do you call it? I guess nick at every corner, I said, well, let's go with that. Every nick and cranny, they call it. Like the Thomas English muffins, right? Let's go with that. So anyways, I know these guys inside and out. I've examined all of their twisted teachings. And we've been having different people come on. You know what the Six Screens Telenetwork is? It's all about exposing the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, this network doesn't get a good reputation in some respects. Sometimes we get people that like to lambaste us, and for whatever reasons. And the reason is, let me tell you what we try to do here. We try to come in the middle. There are a lot of platforms or different people doing YouTube videos, different people writing on JWN and Reddit. They don't believe in some of the things we speak about, but we talk a wide range of information. We talk about the Illuminati. We talk about Watchtower in the occult. We talk about satanic ritual abuse in the Watchtower. We talk about extreme abuse, almost to the point where people say we're sensationalizing. So we do get a bad rap, but it's okay. We try to stay in the middle. We believe in protesting. I believe in active activism, getting out there and really making things work, aggressive activism. So, it's okay. If you guys, find our programming difficult to listen to, we have callers calling from all over the world, and they want to hear different things. Everyone has a different story to tell, so that's what we do here in the Six Screens. You'll hear people calling in tonight, and then we have a program after our news that you want to stay tuned to. We have a man coming on, an acclaimed conspiratorialist. His name is Reese. He's coming out of the belly of the beast in New York City. He's coming on tonight after this newscast, and he's going to be talking about some things tonight, friends, that's going to go get you into full meltdown. He's going to be talking about occult in the Watchtower, and you have a chance to call in, and you have a chance to at least ask him some questions, even to disagree with him if you don't believe what he's saying. He's also going to be talking about the COVID virus. We will not be putting that on YouTube or Facebook tonight because the president administration will ban any remarks or any conflict with their agendas. So we'll have them on our radio network, and we'll have them right here on our 6 Screens video suite. But we're glad you're in with us, and I want you to stay with us tonight. I don't want you to go anywhere. I want you to stay here and listen to what really goes on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Everything. Like I say, we go places other people will not go to, but we go to there. I want you to listen to it, and I'm not always in total agreement with everything that's said, but I believe that at least all of the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, they should have an opportunity to voice their thoughts, and that's what we do. We don't shut anybody down. I don't edit these YouTube videos that we do on Facebook. This is what you hear. This is what you get. Nothing gets edited, and it's live. And when you have a live program, a lot of things can be said. So, and understand when people call in and say things, it's not always me in agreement with it, or our callers are not in agreement. But let people speak their piece. Let's see what everybody has to say about the Watchtower. Well, let's get into it. Boy, we do the news. This news is just unbelievable. We get more and more news every week about the Watchtower. Now, why is that? Friends, they are hemorrhaging. They are losing members left and right. And I want you to know that they're doing it and they're understanding it. They're not letting the rank and file know about it. They know it. The Watchtower knows it. But why would they want the rank and file to know they're hemorrhaging? They wouldn't want to be a witness anymore. Would you, if you were in an organization that had the leaders of that organization lying to you? Well, that's exactly what's going on behind the curtains. Okay, let's talk about this. I want to bring this up. It's concerning the conventions. Of course, they're having their regional conventions, and in Missoula, Montana. You know, I search the internet every week and try to come up with the top stories, and Missoula keeps popping up. Well, why does Missoula, Montana pop up on the news? Well, it's about a convention. And the people in Missoula, well, they're quite upset that the witnesses are not meeting in person. In fact, this is the second year in a row that the Jehovah's Witnesses are not meeting in Missoula. And they miss the witnesses. They say that about 3,500 extremely well-dressed people come to the Adams Center at the University of Montana, and they would do that for the last few years, but the last couple of years they have not been there. The pandemic halted those plans in 2020, and organizers decided to hold the event virtual last year and this year as well. Well, that's got the Chamber of Commerce, that's got the restaurants, the hotels. They're all breathing heavy. They're not getting the business from the witnesses. And friends, the witnesses have been meeting in Missoula for 40 years. And this is something else. So you can understand why it's been a big disappointment, as well as many cities around the world are noticing the lovely Jehovah's Witnesses are not coming and spending money. Well, that's something to talk about, I thought, of the news. That's why we wanted to bring it up tonight. So I find it very fascinating that on the average, Jehovah's Witnesses, as well as other tourists who go to Montana, the Department of Tourism is making a calculation here. They say people spend about $57 a day, $57 a day, restaurants and motels and what have you. I know that sounds low, but they're taking into consideration everyone, families and everyone. It's about $57 a day per person. So there you go, because they get, I believe it was 11 million. 11 million, was that what it was? That they get into their city every year, into the Montana state, I should say, every year. So anyways, the witnesses are now holding the conventions online over 6 weeks period. Now that is just over the top. It doesn't mean that you have to listen to the whole convention for every week for hours. What they're doing is they broke the convention up so you can watch it on JW streaming. So let's say on Friday you can listen to one session, on Saturday another, and Sunday another. So they're going to do that over 6 weeks. However they're going to structure it. Can you imagine that? For 6 weeks of your summer being all tied up listening to the Jehovah's Witness convention. How boring is that? Well, I wanted to bring that up because, I'm always looking for news, and I really appreciate all the people that send me news clips. We're like a news clearinghouse here. And then sometimes the news I get isn't totally accurate. So, friends, I want you to know that. Sometimes I might say something and state something, but I'm reading it from people that send me something. But I always try to say we're not really sure. I know there's been some issues that we had to retract. We got some information concerning the publications. We got information coming in earlier this month, actually late last month, that there was only going to be 2 Watchtowers published, and we were construing that as private or public private edition, but it was actually the public edition where there's only 2 to 3 being published. So there's still a lot of up in the air around that. But anyways, we try to retract anything that was incorrect. So they are still printing the private edition, the study edition, call it what you want. Evidently, they're still printing that once a month. So I just wanted to make that retraction. So anyways, we're glad that you're in with us tonight. We're giving you the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. But like I said, we do it every week. We talk about it every week. Now, I had an article that was sent to me today, and I read it. And, at first I wasn't going to even bring it up on tonight's news, but it got my attention because I look at it as pure propaganda. And the headline, it's in a newspaper. As a matter of fact, it says Jehovah's Witnesses year without knocking on doors. Well, it's actually been a little more than a year, but there's a woman. Her name is Gloria Osborne of Charlotte, North Carolina, and she's one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and she was highlighted in the newspaper, and she had to adjust her outreach ministry. That would be the door-to-door ministry during the pandemic. It's been 1 year, they're saying, since Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide adjusted their methods of sharing the scriptures due to COVID-19 pandemic. So she's saying that it's kind of different than it was a year ago. The change from ringing doorbells and knocking on doors to making phone calls and writing letters expanded and invigorated our ministry. Well, that's what she's saying. You think the ministry was really invigorated? Do you think it really got a new spark to it? I don't think so. But they're saying it is in this newspaper. They're saying that witnesses have embraced this new shift, finding good in these trying times. And a man by the name of Joseph Castano, he's a Jehovah's Witness, he reports a 30% increase in the witness preaching activity in his region, encompassing Northern Virginia and parts of West Virginia. Now, can you believe that? This guy, Brother Joseph, is saying 30% increase in the witnesses preaching activity in this region. Friends, I'm just not going to buy all of this. It's really propaganda from the Watchtower. They're making it sound so grandiose. They're making it sound like, the witnesses, they love this new writing letters and calling people on the phone. Well, let me put it this way. In March 2020, 1.3 million Jehovah's Witnesses in the United States suspended face-to-face public ministry and moved their congregation meetings to video conferencing. Well, we all know that. They went on Zoom. It has been very deliberate, based on 2 principles, according to a man by the name of Robert Hendricks. I told you about this man, Hendricks. He's the next rising star here for the Jehovah's Witnesses. This guy's either going to be the president or he's going to be perhaps on the governing body. But he's saying it has been very deliberate decision based on two principles. So this official from the Watchtower is saying we decided to go online on two principles: our respect for life and love of neighbor. Friends, when was the last time Jehovah's Witnesses had a love of neighbor and a respect of life? These are the first people that'll will die not taking a transfusion. These are the first people that'll not want to talk to their neighbors because they won't want to talk to Jehovah's Witness. So this hotshot Hendricks, the U.S. spokesman for Jehovah's Witnesses, he said we are still witnesses, and as such, we must testify about our faith. So it was inevitable that we would find a way to continue our work. Well, that's what a cult would do. They have to recruit people. They have to keep bringing people in the front door because there's so many going out the back door. So they had to kind of scramble around, and they had all these witnesses having their outreach or their ministry online, writing and calling people. Now, how would you like to live way up in Arden Hills, Minnesota? Friends, that's way up there. And I'm going to tell you something. It gets really cold. Well, one woman named Terry Whitmore, well, she told the paper how she does her ministry. Terry said that she normally bundles up for the door-to-door ministry in a long coat and snow boots, sometimes with removable cleats to help navigate the slippery, icy sidewalks. Now she sits at her dining room table, sips on hot tea, and calls on her cell phone to share the witness message. In December, she conducted more than twice as many Bible studies than in any prior month. I wish I had some barf bags to give you guys. You probably need it at this point. This is all propaganda. They're saying how the witnesses love this. Well, I suppose it is better than trudging through the snow up there in Minnesota and other places. But when you stop and think about it, do they really like sitting in front of a computer writing letters all day or calling people up and getting people hanging up? Well, anyways, Terry says, I'm having a blast. I'm having a blast. After a nice phone call that energizes you. You can't wait to make the next call. Friends, how many listening in to this program tonight would find it enjoyable, would find it energizing to lift a phone up and call a person at random, say, hi, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I want to talk to you today about God's kingdom. Boom, the phone goes down. So you might be energized in two ways, energized in a good way and energized in a bad way, right? So it's amazing. So how does she start? How does this witness start her calls? What does she do? Well, she has certain topics already outlined that she goes to. So her go-to topics for conversation with her neighbors, you guessed it, a COVID-19, civil unrest and government. And she would say that some people feel they have nothing secure to hold on to. That's what you tell them. Isn't that the way that we always witnessed? We always started off with some type of a negative theme, right? Well, Terry, the witness here, is doing the same thing. She's saying that, we don't have anything secure to hold on to. And she said the power of God's word is amazing. You can just share a scripture and you feel like they are settling down. I'll tell you something. I've been a witness for 50 years. I'm not now, obviously. But I've been door to door. I've knocked on doors all over this country, believe me. And I got news for you. Never can I say that when I read a scripture to a person at the door, that they felt like they could settle down listening to it. Friends, all I got was, they'll listen, but, shoo you away. So this is pure propaganda. Now, also, friends, if you listen to this, what I'm going to say next, I cannot totally believe this. It's got to be exaggerated numbers of the highest degree. They're saying here in this newspaper, nearly 51,000 people in the United States last year made a request for a witness to contact them through jw.org. Can you believe that? They're saying that 51,000 people through the local congregations, as well as contacting jw.org, wanted to know more about the Watchtower and the way they teach their Jehovah's Witnesses. Unbelievable. Now, Hendricks, we'll go back to Hendricks, that official for the Watchtower. He comes back here in the newspaper and he says, our love for our neighbors is stronger than ever. Let me repeat that because it's not settling right. Our love for our neighbors is stronger than ever. That's what Hendricks said. Is it really, Brother Hendricks? Is your love for neighbors stronger than ever? I don't see it. You never had a love for neighbors. You don't even have a love for friends, neighbors, relatives that want nothing to do with you folks. So how can you come on a newspaper and actually make this claim? Your love is not stronger than ever. If anything, your love has been dissipated. There is no love for anybody anymore unless you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And then he goes on to say, in fact, I think we have needed each other more than ever. We are finding that people are perplexed. Well, yes, people are perplexed. They've been, cabin fever to 2 years in their house, not going out. They're stressed because of COVID. They're feeling isolated. And then he goes on to say, our work has helped many regain a sense of footing, even normalcy, at a very unsettled time. So Hendricks is saying that Jehovah's Witnesses are making people feel normal, even at a very unsettled time. Well, what about all those witnesses that have their children shunning them or relatives shunning them, and they're getting old and they're living by themselves and they're concerned about the COVID? And have they been able to get out to the store? Have they been able to get their medicine? Is Brother Hendricks concerned about the witnesses in that situation? Absolutely not. So, when I read stories like this, friends, I only can tell you, I know I get a little passionate, I get a little upset about it, but I mean it. Yes, indeed, these witnesses can come on. They can say how great their ministry is now. They can say that it's just wonderful and it's working so great. I don't believe it. As a matter of fact, many people don't believe it. And they read this and listen, the world is catching up on Jehovah's Witnesses. They know that they are a cult. In the court of public opinion, they know that many Jehovah's Witnesses are pedophiles. They know the organization's covering up child abuse. Friends, this article goes on and on. It gives messages, but I have to say, this is almost so with the Watchtower, so pro-Watchtower, that I'm even think this might even be a paid advertisement, never mind just some information in the paper, because this is what really got me. There was a young witness boy, and his name was Benjamin. And, he was writing letters with his mother and father concerning the witness work and preaching. And I'm not going to pick on Benjamin. He's just a young guy. But he wrote letters to the nurses at a regional health center, and he put a Bible prophecy at Isaiah 33:24, and he put that in there. He says, there's a day coming when no one will say, I am sick. Oh, the nurses loved it. The secretary at the hospital's marketing center said, wow, this is wonderful. So she took Benjamin, the Jehovah's Witness, the young Jehovah's Witness letter, and she scanned it and she emailed it to 2,000 employees, and it made many people smile. This sounds like a paid promo for the Watchtower. So you see, also they're saying witnesses. Now, I want you to listen to this. I don't want you to get sick, but I want you to listen. Witnesses, this is right out of the newspaper. Witnesses have also made a concerted effort to check on distant friends and family, sometimes texting links to Bible-based articles on jw.org that cover timely topics such as isolation, depression, and how to beat pandemic fatigue. Does this, friends? So in the paper, the witnesses are making a concerted efforts to check on distant friends and family. Now, if you're an apostate of the Watchtower and you didn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore, did your family check in on you during the COVID virus? Did they bring you some food? Did they ask you if they could pick medicine up for you? Did they make sure your heat was still on and you had food in your house? Did they check up on you? Well, according to the paper, they checked up on distant friends and family. What? Well, friends, we know the story. We know the story. This is all propagandas. And then also, another thing the newspaper's saying, I got a big kick. I thank my wife for sending me this. She found this in the newspaper. The article also says former Bible students have started studying again. Can you imagine that? Former Bible students have started studying again? I doubt that. I really, really do. I'm getting opposite stories coming into the 6 screens. People, I got an email today from a woman that was a study. She's not even a Jehovah's Witness, but she wrote me today. And she said, Rick, I'm so glad I found you. And I see you on the internet and different platforms. She says, I'm so glad I found you. She says, I studied with the Jehovah's Witness, but I never became one. And I see how crazy they are. Well, that woman is right. Her name is Suzanne. And she wrote today saying that, and she's right. Suzanne, if you're listening, you are right. And I'm glad you never became one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, they're just saying this. Friends, they have to keep people in the organization. They are hemorrhaging. So, all of this stuff, when I read it today, I'm not even going to read the rest. I'll read you one more thing. The witnesses are boasting here in this newspaper article that they have a 20% increase in online meeting attendance. That goes contrary to everything that we've been saying here at the 6 Screens. Are we lying to you? Is the information I'm getting mixed up? Is it distorted? This is totally wrong. No, the Watchtower is not growing, friends. No, people do not like going out in service. They do not. I mean, their service now is writing letters. So, this is all a bunch of baloney. But if you'd like to come in, you have anything to say about this, well, let's entertain your thoughts on this. Hit *6 if you want to talk to us and see, does this suit your fancy? Go ahead. You're on with us, California.
Can you imagine a Watchtowerite being asked? Let's just assume it's not a paid person doing the propaganda about how great they're finding their ministry during the COVID. Can you imagine a quote-unquote strong sister being asked to say what you just read earlier about how great the ministry is, how much she enjoys her phone ministry and whatever? What else are they going to say? Every word is watched and monitored, and especially the tone, the intonation. They want to hear enthusiasm. They want to hear dedication. They want to hear faithfulness, because every Watchtowerite's job is not only to recruit, is to make Watchtower look good. I get some of those letters, and I have gotten a few phone calls. And unfortunately, I have never been home to actually receive a phone call from a witness doing this thing. But I did get one from a 15 to 17-year-old girl from the way it sounded. And she sounded very sweet, and she was doing her schmeal. But right near the end, when she was encouraging me to call or go to jw.org, her voice fell. Like, why am I even bothering? And it was a distinct fall in her, let's just say, her enthusiasm. She wasn't overly enthusiastic. Hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm just calling her. home today with some good news to share with you about the Bible, especially, in these times. It's nice to have some good news from our loving Heavenly Father. And it was very nice and engaging, but to hear this poor sweetheart spirit fall, I almost started crying, and I prayed for her because I can imagine call after call after call because she has to get in her time. Thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. Yeah, it's just, but I've been catching a lot of these newspaper articles that this is the only good articles I really find concerning the witnesses. And it all has to do with this propaganda of them doing so great. You're on with us again, another California call. Go ahead.
Hi, Rick. I was going to say, I think Watchtower is a little bit full of themselves. I was talking to my client the other day, and, she's a JW, and I work for her, so it's, a business arrangement. But anyway, we were talking about her field service, and it's a matter of writing letters and making phone calls. So I said, honey, how's that working for you? With making the phone calls. She says, they hung up on me. So I said, well, I'm not surprised. So, Rick, I don't believe anything the Watchtowers say that it's 20% increase. People don't want to hear the nonsense. They really don't, Rick. They don't.
I'm with you 100%, Constance. They don't want to hear it. But boy, I've been seeing a proliferation of articles like this online, newspapers online, and actually even hard copy newspapers building the witnesses up. But this is somehow, I'm going to tell you, newspaper articles as well as television promotions like on the news, it's not uncommon for them to accept money to promote a story. And that's what I believe is going on here, because I just cannot believe that people would be so stupid to think that it's so great to call people up. Would you like to call people up, Constance? Would you like to call people up? And
no.
Listen.
I mean, that's what they call cold calls in the sales business. Cold calls.
I've been a cold call salesman for many years of my life, and I have to tell you something.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy even doing that in business. Never mind calling up with a controversial subject. I mean, it's one thing to go in and talk to a customer about a sign. Hey, I think you might need some new signs here. But it's another thing calling a person up and trying to coerce them into becoming Jehovah's Witness and change the religion there is. Come on, that's tough,
Well, Rick, I told her, I said, honey, I said, people don't want to hear about Watchtower because, probably 5 seconds into the call, they know, you're a religious organization calling them. And then when they realize, you're from Watchtower, I said, they have a horrible reputation. And people know it all over the world. And she said, they do? I said, yes, they know that the place is full of pedophiles. And I said, you were raped by an elder. And I said, people, it's all over the world. It's no surprise. So Watchtower doesn't have, that clean, squeaky clean image like they used to have years ago. And people just hang up. So that's what's going on, Rick. That's the truth of the matter. So thank you.
Well, Constance, at one time, I mean, I felt this way. I can't speak for everybody, but when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I felt like I was special. I really, really did. I mean, I didn't walk around with my nose in the air, but when I walked around, I put my suit on and slicked back my hair and polished up my shoes, and I'd walk around the neighborhood, and I would really think, I know more about theological happenings in the Bible than anybody in this territory. So, I don't have to worry about being challenged because I know way more than they do. I've got the reasoning book with me. I mean, that's how I used to feel. But, that image is being tarnished. If I was a witness today, I'd be scared to death to go door to door. Right after the scandal up here in Boston with Cardinal Law and the Catholic Church and all the pedophilia being found out about in the Catholic Church, a lot of priests would not even walk around Boston with their with their priest collar on. They would just put a regular shirt on, and they wouldn't do it because they were getting dirty looks from everybody. Well, that's exactly how I think if I was still a Jehovah's Witness going door to door, I'd be kind of embarrassed because, they'd probably be looking at any male that knocks on their door as being perhaps a child molester. I mean, really, it would embarrass me.
Right.
Yeah. So because they
right.
have
those. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Rick. I want
to hear you.
To interrupt you. Honey.
No, that's okay. I was done. Go ahead. Thank you, Constance.
Well, I was just going to say, I was born and raised Catholic before I was a witness, and those priests probably were, who were in the parish there, or several of those parishes in the area of Boston. They probably were terrified that they were probably going to be physically assaulted, because the Catholic Church, had a horrendous history of pedophiles, and the witnesses do too, and so do a lot of other organizations. But I could see how a lot of those priests would have been fearful to go out in their priestly garbs, whatever you call it, and be attacked by people. Can you imagine, Rick?
Well, it would make you very, very nervous. As a matter of fact, see what's happening, Constance, is the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I heard this today. There were some friends that were telling their family, the witnesses that got out, they were telling their family that was still in that, about the Royal Commission in Australia and about how the Watchtower covered up all this child abuse. And the witness, he was an elder that was listening to this. He said that it was all made up. He said that people fabricated that story. And that's all false. That was made up by apostates. How do you deal with people with that type of mentality that are not even willing to open their ears and eyes and put their antenna up? It's so known, but even if the witnesses are not finding out about the child abuse cover-ups, the world is, Constance. In the court of public opinion, they know who the Watchtower is. People know, they just know it's a cult. And there is we're going to even be talking about a brand new documentary. We're going to talk about that coming up in a few minutes here. That's coming out very shortly about Jehovah's Witnesses. And this man who produced it, he actually was one of Jehovah's Witnesses when he was younger. So he saw a documentary about Scientology. And this just actually pushed him to do a documentary about Jehovah's Witnesses, because he said this is very much the same. So the world knows, even if you look up in Wikipedia, and even now Jehovah's Witnesses are being called a cult. Now that's something that wasn't there before, but that word is now showing up as more and more people are finding out about the Watchtower.
Well, Rick, I just wanted to say something briefly, if I may.
Sure.
I was just going to say, it's ignorance. It's ignorance on the part of the witnesses who have their heads stuck in the sand because they're terrified. If they really want to see the truth about what this organization is about, and they will open up their mind and their heart to really see the evidence. I'm talking about the legal evidence that's out there in the courts. Okay, it's going to rock their world like a 10.0 earthquake. It's going to totally rock their whole foundation for everything that they believe, and they're terrified of that, Rick. A lot of times when people are really fearful, they just shut everything down because they don't want to hear the real truth about, especially their belief system. My God, I mean, that's going to rock the world big time. But you can't escape it. I mean, you either really want to know the truth about the organization that you're involved in, or you don't. And unfortunately, a lot of people are waking up, and unfortunately, the organization is full of pedophiles. And the people that claim to be lovers of truth and of righteousness, well, you can't claim to do that and be in that organization because it's really evil. It really is. So thank you, Rick.
Well, Constance, it's always good to hear from you. I really appreciate your presence here on the Six Screens. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
So we got a lot of things going on here in the Watchtower. Now they are talking. Now, this week has been coming across the internet that the assembly could come in person next spring. So if you're Jehovah's Witness and you're wondering about the assemblies and when they're going to meet, now it's being said online that it could happen next spring. But let's not get too overly, let's get a little cautious here. Let me say this. Watchtower is making announcements that seem to be getting people distracted. They are making these announcements that, well, we're perhaps going to meet. If all goes well, we're going to meet, but there's nothing that is written in stone. So the Watchtower is making these announcements about meeting again, and they're doing it in a kind of like a subliminal way. They're not really coming out and saying it, but they have certain little areas of the world that they say it, and then the word gets around and witnesses are spreading it. So anyways, they're making these announcements that they're going to be going back to the meetings, or at least not the meeting, but at least to the assembly in person next spring. That would be spring of 2022. Now, these could be rumors. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows, including even the governing body, I don't think knows when they're going to be going back. But anyways, this message first started floating around in Eastern Europe. That this message did not come from the United States. But see, I mean, they let things like this leak out. They might tell the congregation, one congregation in Eastern Europe, hey, the assembly's 2022, we're coming back. But we can't believe all of this. And one thing, friends, we have so many news articles we discuss, more than anybody else doing anything, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook. I mean, we cover all the news. We cover it all. So sometimes things could be said. I can't tell you to take it to the bank and cash it. Things sometimes are said that you're going to have to use your own thoughts on it. But let me just tell you something. You were a Jehovah's Witness. You knew what it was like to have to go to an assembly, a convention. Let's just think about the conventions. Let's think about traveling away. And let's just say for a weekend, you spend hotel fees of $200. I'm going low on that. You'd have a hard time spending 3 nights in a hotel up here in the Northeast for $200. It'd be more like probably $354. So let's just go with the 2, okay? So let's just think about this. The witnesses have got to come up with $200 if they go to a convention that's away from their home. Now you got to add meals in. I mean, you got to put some meals. You got to eat, right? So you're looking here. It depends how big your family is too, but I'm just going to throw $150 on the table. Let's put $150 there. Now I got gasoline. Well, I don't know if you noticed lately, but I mean, I just filled my van up. Now, just, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, I could fill my van for $29. Cost me $50 this week. So let's just say that you need a tank of gas to get you to the convention. I'm going low here, friends. So you got $50. Plus, they're going to want some donations. You're going to have to put, 30, 40, $50. Some people might put 100 in. So it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you to go to one of these conventions. So I'm thinking, the witnesses don't want to go back to a convention. A lot of these witnesses don't make a lot of money. They're really not. So, they're working and trying to just struggle and pay the rent and get by. So now you're adding this burden of having to go to a convention on them. They're starting to even think about it. In fact, some witnesses are getting anxiety attacks over the thought of even meeting again once again and going to meetings. So, the Watchtower, it strikes me as very hypocritical throughout the year. They're constantly reminding people, and I want you to think about this. They're constantly reminding people to simplify their living arrangements and finances so more time can be devoted to the ministry. But yet at the same time, many of these families got to dish out over $500 just to get to a convention. I'd say that's hypocritical, wouldn't you? Geez, how is that simplifying your living arrangements when they got to make arrangements to get to one of their conventions? So I'm just thinking here, the gas, the tolls, the hotel, the meals, all the other expenses to travel and listen to more baloney. Man, a lot of the witnesses saying, I don't want to do it anymore. So even if they do have an assembly or a convention, I don't believe they're going to get many people to go. At least now, they say they can look forward to listening to the convention in the comfort of an easy chair. Well, I wouldn't go so far as saying looking forward to it, but I would say it's a lot easier sitting in a nice easy chair watching the convention on JW streaming. I think you'll agree with me on that. So the assemblies all through this year and through the fall will be through streaming, but they are beginning to at least say perhaps the spring of 2022, we're going to see some witnesses meeting in person. Anne-Marie, you're on with us. Go ahead.
Oh, bless your heart. Just two thoughts. One, I think they're kind of like tickling the ears of the witnesses. They know how fast rumors spread, and no rumor is without an agenda. And I'm thinking that they're kind of titillating the ears of the witnesses who very much look forward to the conventions in the summertime, even though it does cost a lot of money. They're used to the hardship, the financial hardship. And most of them, even more than their concern over the financial burden of going to a convention, they are missing the fellowship. They're missing the excitement, that feeling of the whole association of brothers. And also, if they keep the witnesses thinking, oh, it's a good possibility we're going to be meeting, next year, next spring, they might start saving, and they're looking forward to it. But Watchtower always makes sure they have their big back door ready to swing wide open when they need it. So they still have the option of selling off every convention site or doing whatever they can to save money. Remember the conventions that they canceled a couple years ago because they figured out that it would cost them money, or they wouldn't be able to make the money that they would normally be able to count on, and so they canceled like 3 or 4 conventions. Remember that one?
Yes.
All about the Benjamins.
You got it.
And the other thing is, how Watchtower, and they've done it before, when Watchtowerites are stuck home, then they go, well, think of the money that you would have spent on gas and motels. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing and a blessing for Jehovah's work to, donate that money you saved by not having to attend the convention? Oh my God, Rick, are they awful or what?
Well, that's exactly true. They do have issues with that. Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you very much for coming in and being with us. They are awful. I will agree to that. Well, you're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about, friends. It really is something else. Now, I want to make a note here, too. Don't leave us after we do our newscast. We still have an hour and a half to go here on our JW World News. We go for 2.5 hours every Saturday night, and we're glad you're on here with us. But I just want to say this, that, after the program tonight, if you guys have never heard Reese on the Six Queens Telenetwork, and let me just explain, we have a number of programs. JW World News is just one of the programs on the Six Queens Telenetwork. This is a niche network. This is a network all about Jehovah's Witnesses and all of the things they're hiding behind. And we have a number of programs. We have 17 different programs here on the Six Screens. JW World News is just one of them. But here's what I want you to think about. We have different people come on. They have different ideologies. They have different feelings about the Watchtower. They're not always the feelings of me or the callers or even the other people who have programs. But we have a man coming on here tonight. His name is Reese, and he's coming in from the belly of the beast. If you have never heard Reese and you're tired, I want you to leave this program right now and take a nap. I want you to take a nap so you'll be ready for Reese. He's going to come on here tonight. He's going to talk about all of the occultism in the Watchtower, at least a good part of it. He's going to bring you down that rabbit hole. And then he's going to talk about the COVID virus. So, friends, I hope he doesn't cause a meltdown tonight. He's got a lot to share with us. I was on the phone with him today. He's getting all riled up and he's ready. If you have never heard Reese, stay tuned to the program after this one. Now, if you're on Facebook and you're on YouTube, we cannot put this on there. The current administration, will not allow us to put what Reese says up. We will be banned. But we can do it on our private video suite and on our radio network. So if you're on Facebook and you are on YouTube and you want to listen to Reese tonight, I encourage you to go to 6 screens of the watchtower.com. Scroll down to where it says click for video suite, and you'll be able to hear it no matter where you are in the world. Or if you want to call in and listen on the telephone line, you can do that too. And if you're on YouTube, all you have to do is look at the description. The telephone number's there. So when this program's over later and you want to listen to Reese, call that telephone number up and you can listen. So I just wanted to make that little public announcement here tonight. And another thing I want to do too is I want to tell you, I've been getting a lot of emails, and I mean it, people that have been listening to our program on our various networks that we broadcast on. And they've been really saying how enjoyable it is to hear people calling in and talking. And it really is. It's helping people. So if you're listening to our call tonight, and we have many people on our telephone radio line, if you're listening to our call here tonight, well, why don't you muster up the courage and call in? And all you have to do is hit *6 and speak up. That's helping so many people. It's not just me sitting here every Saturday night. You're the people that make the program. So if you could do that, you would not believe how many people you are helping. Go ahead. Are you on there with us, Mark? Illinois.
Yeah, hey, Rick. How you doing tonight? How's it going?
Well, Mark, doing good. So what's happening?
Good to hear. Always good to hear. Yes, Rick. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. You just gave a great JW World News speech. I really liked it. You covered a lot, and it was really good, buddy. You did a totally phenomenal job, and thank you for another great news report.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mark. Now, you want to stay in because, you'll be coming on later tonight, I hope.
Well, I'd like to. Can you get me in early, by good chance, a little earlier or not?
Well, you're going to have to take that up with them. We got Reese coming on. I mean, he just brings people in like crazy. Okay. I wish we had time, like I say, but you have to come in either early or late. If you came earlier on Anne Marie's program, she would have gave you 20 minutes, but you got to come in early or you got to come late. You can't come in during the news or the program coming after us. No. All right.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Okay. That's fine. I'm sorry if I came in a little later. Wish I probably should have came much earlier. Oh yeah. Well, if I can get on later tonight, I will do so. No promises, but if I can, I'll definitely do so to give you another motivational quote. And, an ideal motivational speech, okay?
Very, very good. Thank you. Appreciate it, Reese. All righty. Well, we are moving forward here. We are continuing to talk about what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So anyways, I just want you guys to all know, and you know it anyways, I don't have to tell you, that the Kingdom Halls are still closed. And, I wonder, how is the Watchtower doing financially? Well, you got all these Kingdom Halls closed. They're not going to in-person conventions that really are a fundraiser. So how is the Watchtower making their money? What is happening with that? I mean, they are selling Kingdom Halls off at record pace. And currently, the majority of Jehovah's Witnesses believe they are prepping for the big A. Yeah, if you talk to any active witness, they're going to tell you that, yeah, we are getting ready for Armageddon. It's right around the corner. We got our go bags packed. We are just getting ready because we know it's coming. So the Watchtower is managing to fleece the flocks. Well, that's what they're doing. And the Jehovah's Witnesses are no longer getting a lot of literature from the Watchtower. They're no longer going to the Kingdom Halls. They're no longer walking past a donation box. So regardless of how they have tried to adjust the members to different styles of donations, do you think they're really getting them? I think they are. I believe they're still getting the donations, but friends, they are a rip-off company. Yes. Now, let me tell you, they want to get rid of all of the Kingdom Halls. They might keep a few, like I say, for, regional centers to still meet from time to time. But any Kingdom Hall that can bring in big bucks right now, the Watchtower is doing their best to get rid of it. And not only that, see, the problem of having Kingdom Halls is costly. It costs them money to have a Kingdom Hall, even though nobody's going there. A lot of money donated to the Watchtower, because I don't know if you guys are totally aware of how the Watchtower is keeping books lately. I should say how the local congregations are keeping books. Now, they've changed it from time to time, and the current understanding, but I'm not a witness still, so I'm only getting information through some of the information that comes to me at the 6th grain, so don't hold me hostage. But from what I understand, the current position concerning Watchtower and concerning donations is a little different than it was when you and I were in back in the 90s, in the early 2000s, and the 80s. It's altogether different. The Watchtowers come in, and they, of course, have taken over the title to most, in fact, just about all the Kingdom Halls in America and around the world have been turned over title-wise to the Watchtower. So that's just a start. So the Watchtower owns, I would say at this point, close to 90%, 99% even, of all Kingdom Halls. There might be a few still holding out. But how does this work? Well, money that comes in to the congregation, people who send money in through Zoom to the local congregation, and each member really understands that they're on the hook. They want every member to try to give at least $8, $9, $10 a month. Every member, even more. They want more. But let's say that all this money that comes into the local congregation, that doesn't stay with the local congregation. They might keep maybe a couple $100 in there for a petty cash fund, but most of it's going all to the Watchtower. And then what the Watchtower does is, if they need repairs or they need heating or air conditioning repaired, a roof repaired, well, the Watchtower is going to have to look at the situation, and if they deem it that the current congregation needs the money, they will help. But I use the word help here kind of hazily. They will help in the respects of giving them a loan, even though there's money there on file. It's a balance sheet. The Watchtower is holding a balance sheet, is what they have. So each congregation has a balance sheet. So if you get a couple of grand in there, and, let's stop and think about it. Some congregations are big, and they are sending money every month. They give it to the local congregation. The local congregation turns it over to the Watchtower. So some of these balance sheets, if you would, for the congregations, they're adding up. There's thousands of dollars in there. So let me just say something. Right now, the Watchtower is in pretty good shape. That is the Watchtower organization. They have all of these Kingdom Halls, and nobody's occupying them. Now, I want you to think of something here, because I'm giving you a fact. Back in the day, when you and I, back in the 90s, 80s, well, let's go the 90s and early 2000s, it wasn't unheard of for a congregation that had 3 congregations meeting there to spend $1,000 a month in electric bills. Now, I also have one person gave me some information today that the congregation they were in, it actually had 6 regular meetings. They had 2 congregations. They had field service meetings, and their electric bill was $2,000 a month. Evidently, it was electric heat as well. So now that nobody's meeting in these Kingdom Halls, the Watchtower is not really totally upset about this, because the expenses are way down. The winterizing costs about $100 a month. They can keep the heat on low. There's nobody using the meeting, so they don't need lights. So let's say that is $1,900 shipped to their bank accounts. In other words, at one time, they would have to pay that electric bill themselves. But now you have them sending that $1,900 that they're saving. They're still asking the congregations to donate the same amount of money they were before they stopped meeting. So still many congregations are sending in that amount of money they sent when they were meeting. So the Watchtower is making out like a bandit. And not only that, did you hear, I've got information here that from what I understand currently, many congregations are actually being encouraged by the Watchtower to donate up to $20 per month per publisher for the Zoom meetings, because that costs the Watchtower money. So they're suggesting $20 a month. Now, that might not be for all congregations, but they're trying to grab as much money as they possibly can. And also another thing the Watchtower is saving on, let's think about this. They're not having to print anything anymore. They just publish everything and put it in a PDF file, and that saves them tons of money too. And most of the witnesses have a tablet in the Kingdom Hall, and they can just go right online and they can get what they want, download it, and print it on their own printer. So, I'm just saying here that the Watchtower is really grabbing and holding these congregations hostage instead of putting all of the money they have that they used to put in their own local congregation savings account. All of this money is going to the Watchtower. The Watchtower doesn't want them to run a bank account with more than a few $100 in it. They have to send it all to the Watchtower. So they just have a balance sheet. So what does that mean, a balance sheet? Well, it means that, okay, fine, let's just go with Kingdom Hall X. You have a balance sheet here of $3,000. So if you need some assistance, your money's already here. We'll help you, okay? We'll give you some of the money back so you can get some of your work done. So let's say that there has to be a roof put on. Let's say that Congregation X, who has $3,000 sitting in their balance and then their balance account, let's say that they need to put a roof on. It's going to cost them $2,000, which would be kind of cheap. But let's say just $2,000 for the sake of figuring. So they're still going to have a hard time getting the Watchtower to send that money back to them. What the Watchtower is going to do first is they're going to say, well, ask the brothers and sisters if they can pay for it. Can you imagine that? Well, they have a balance sheet. They have $3,000. But the Watchtower is still going to say, well, can you ask the people first if they'll pay? And then, then if they can't, we'll loan you the money. Loan me the money? Well, I have a balance sheet. I have money in there. What would you do if you had a balance in a bank and you had $2,000 in there and you wanted to withdraw it and they said, well, you can't, but what we'll do is see if you can't generate money elsewhere. And then if you want to take it out, they say, well, we'll let you take the money out, but we're going to loan it to you. I mean, how foolish is this? But that's exactly what's going on. Now, where did I get this information? I got it from a person, an elder, as a matter of fact, who was on the regional building committee. And he left the Watchtower because of this. He left the Watchtower because of their sneaky tactics on how they're grabbing money from people. Now, let me just tell you what he said. He said that there's a number of witnesses. He would not give his name, and obviously for reasons we know, he would not give his name, but the information that he sent here and I got here was that he left because he thought it was so shady of the Watchtower. And then also he had a number of friends in the congregation that also left. And he knew a congregation that was donating a lot of money to the Watchtower. And what they would do, and this happened 3 or 4 times, they would donate a lot of money. They would build a new Kingdom Hall. They'd sell that Kingdom Hall off. The Watchtower would keep the money. They'd build a new Kingdom Hall, but ask for more donations. He said there was a number of Jehovah's Witnesses in a certain congregation. He didn't name the congregation, but he said a number of the witnesses got up and packed their bag. He says they're sick of it. They see the scheme. They see the money maneuvering. They see the corruption in the Watchtower. Isn't that something? I wanted to share that with you. I thought you might find that interesting. Well, anyways, you're right here on JW World News. We do it every Saturday night. We'd love to hear from you. We have a lot on our radio line. Why don't you just dial in? Just dial in, hit *6 if you're on our radio line. Talk to us. Could you do that? Man, you'll help so many people. Go ahead, you're on with us. You know, we hear the same people, and I love to hear the same people, but can we get some new ones? Look, here's the thing. I want to continue doing the 6 screens, but I want you to call in. That means more to me than anything. Go ahead, you with us?
Hi, Rick.
Yes.
Hi, it's Laura in Arizona.
Laura, how are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to mention that I used to go there a long time ago to the meetings with my mother. And I remember every time afterwards, they would say, we need to pay these bills and those bills. And, you know, I was a teenager at the time. And now I'm much older. I'm in my 60s. And it was just like all the time, it was about money.
Yeah, so that got you thinking, Laura?
Oh yeah, definitely. I never joined it, but my younger sister did, and then she was disfellowshipped because she wanted to go to college. So I just saw what it was doing to our family, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, it destroys families, Laura. My goodness. Wow.
It sure does. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to call in. This is the first time I called. So.
Well, Laura, thank you for doing that. I really thank you. I mean, that means a lot. You know, you're helping a lot of people. And I try to get people get nervous.
I really enjoy this show, too.
Well, thank you, Laura. I appreciate that.
I enjoy this show a lot.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Wow, there you go. That's Laura out there in Phoenix, Arizona. You know, we get a lot of people. Yes, Jay. Yes.
Thank you. Can I speak?
Of course, you're on with us. I mean, you got the red carpet.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to just say something funny. I really love this show, Rick. I think you know that. I really appreciate your taking the lead here and staying with it for over 15 years. And Avery and everyone else, Dick, and the other people. But I tell you one thing, the more the people call in that we don't know, the more it seems an active thing, which it is. Because I'm sure you get a lot of people that don't talk, but they're sending you emails and everything, you know, all the time. And that's why, you know, I just want something weird. My stepmother survived the Nazis in Holland. They just had flooding tonight in Germany. 160 people drowned from the flooding in Germany and in Belgium, and also a little bit in the Netherlands on the tip, which is sad. It happens. And then I was saying to myself, but then they have, you know, then you have this Watchtower, which it doesn't break a sweat to help the brothers on a general situation. They don't break a sweat. As long as it doesn't cost them a penny, they'll get some other brother to pay for the penny, and that's pretty sick. And I've seen it over and over again. When they build a kingdom hall, it's got to be at the leisure of the elder and at the sweat bustle of the brothers and sisters. And that's pretty, in my opinion, that's just using people. I don't think it's right. They think it's cute, fine, but they are getting used, and they don't even see it till they question something with the elders, and then they'll be brought up in a judicial committee, which is very sad. You know, they keep that like a back room electric chair, that judicial committee, because that's how I look at it. And they snap it on somebody from whatever it is, and after they do it, you're dazed. You're out of it. You're out. When they did it to me, I was totally stung for 40 years, couldn't deal with anything, very messed up in the head, thought I had no reason to live because I had been thrown out of the God's paradise. Well, that's not God's paradise because Jesus didn't treat people that way. A devil's paradise, they should call it, not God. And the other thing is, my stepmother survived the Nazis. She saw her mother's fingers being cut off by the soldiers, but then she goes to the Watchtower and she gets involved with another cult, which is just as dangerous, but in a different way. And that blows my mind when I think of it. She didn't identify one mind-changing cult like under the German Republic to another one under the Watchtower. And that's pretty sad. Neither did my father. He wanted to marry her. She had money, and he had to play the game because you get married, you can never divorce your wife as a witness. And that's the way it is. So I just put that out there. A pretty disturbing thing in my mind. That's all. There's no free will. There's no free exchange. Make sure all things hold fast to what is fine. I was taught in the meetings, but I don't see this here. Make sure all things. Make sure what the governing body tells you, and then you're okay. They tell you to jump, you jump. But if the Bible says don't jump, you got to listen to the governing body. That, in my opinion, is false. Thank you.
Wow, that's great that you can come in and comment, Jay, and we wish you all the best. And, people have been asking about you, and when you're all better, and I know you're going to get better, we're praying for you. And when you're all better, you're going to come back on, you're going to have your program again, Watchtower Behind Closed Doors. Thank you, Jay from New York City. Thank you very much. Well, there you have it. Friends, I'll tell you what, so many people have been hurt. So many people have really had their lives tipped upside down because of their involvement with the Watchtower. Well, anyways, we got some others calling in. Go ahead. You're on with us. Area code 167. Come on in. Say hello to us. Area code 167. You're on with us. You're open. Unmute yourself. Hit *6. There you go. Let me unmute you if you want to come in. 167. 167. 167 wants to say something. You're on with us. I'll unmute you. All right. Well, let's see what happens. All right. That's all you have to do, friends, when you want to speak up on the 6 screens. You call the telephone number, you hit *6, and that unmutes you. So anyways, we're doing great here tonight. I'm doing great. We got a good crowd coming in. I mean, even for the summer, it's so...
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, Rick, I'm a first-time caller. I listen to your program. I served at Bethel for many years, and I'm a PIMO at this time, or whatnot. But I really appreciate the work you do. It's unfortunate, you have to be a PIMO in order to continue to, have your family. But the Watchtower, they definitely are hemorrhaging members. I'm on a Zoom call with some brothers every other Saturday, and it's we're supposed to be writing letters or what have you, but we're just on there talking to each other. And then a good friend of mine is still at Bethel, and he was telling me that they're getting ready to do more what they call reassignments. So he's pretty nervous. Him and his wife, they've been at Bethel now about 28 years. I served there for about 5 years back in the 90s down in Brooklyn. But it's hemorrhaging. He said they're nervous. A lot of the brothers are nervous about being reassigned, especially at the age that they are now. There's also rumored at Bethel as well that they're going to put in place what they call an age limit, where at a certain age, you're going to be reassigned to the field or, to do a different type of role or become a special pioneer. So it's really unfortunate, that the Watchtower is doing people like that. But, I really appreciate your show. I just wanted to step up and say hello. You ask for new callers. I always listen. But, being a PIMO, having to kind of stay in the shadows, it's pretty nervous, nerve-wracking.
Well, I thank you very much. I know that. In fact, even when we first started doing this program, I knew that that would be one of the issues because a lot of people don't want to speak up because, wow, we know what happens. But thank you for sharing that with us. Now, don't you be a stranger. And then one of these days when you feel more comfortable, I'd love to have you come on. We could do a little interview. But when you feel comfortable, we're not going to push you with that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Well, there you go.
Hello, Rick. Hi, Rick.
Yes. Who's this?
Hi, Rick. It's Brian.
Oh, I didn't recognize your voice. Hi, Brian.
I just wanted to. I just wanted to talk to this gentleman here for a minute that just piped in. Yeah, it's really nice to hear a new voice. Thanks for piping in there. I'll tell you what, just in case you're really, like you mentioned how nervous you are. I remember first time I kind of ever tuned in on 6 screens, whatever it was, 10 or 12 years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, I guess. I kind of wondered what's going on here. Like, I was worried. I was completely out, but I was worried about whether or not, somebody might recognize me or if Watchtower types were listening in on Rick's shows and all of that. So I was kind of tentative, like you just said. I didn't find, and then I let certain things slip kind of on purpose so that, there'd be somebody might have an idea. Oh, okay. Oh, that's Brian. But it's never happened. I've never had anything like that come back to me. So I think it's a pretty safe venue here for people to speak up and talk. So just so you know, it never happened to me. Now I don't care so much because so many years have gone by, and the in-laws that I was worried about them creating friction between me and them, they've passed on, they've died. So it's not as much of an issue anymore. But just so you know. So anyway, welcome to Rick's shows. A lot of fascinating stuff happens here. A lot of crazy. There's some stuff that's far out on both directions. But that's the big difference. That's the big difference.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I've been listening to Rick's show now probably for about the past 2 months. I've been listening on Saturdays, and I just listen. I've made a few comments in the chat or what have you, but I've never called in before. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm a grown man or whatnot, but all of my family are witnesses, father's an elder, mother, the whole shebang. My brother's an elder, so.
Yeah.
So I just, I'm a PIMO, so I go to all the Zoom meetings just so I can, continue to have that interaction. My parents are up in age, so I want to have that contact. And, I sacrifice my personal self just in order to be peaceable with them or what have you. But the points Rick make and others, it's so true. It's a burden, trying to fake it, trying to write letters. Going to these conventions year after year, it was a burden. It was costly, and it was very, dreary, on the body, to do that. But my parents are up in age, and, I don't want them to pass anytime soon. But once they do, then, I can continue to, live my life a lot more freely than I would want. But they were good parents. So, I respect them or what have you. And, and I do the bare minimum just to kind of stay under the radar. And like I said, I did serve at Bethel, like I said, for 5 years there in Brooklyn or whatnot. So, I was pretty involved in it as well. But, it's being exposed. The things Rick bring up is almost like they're getting a Yelp review on the organization, and people are really seeing what goes on behind the curtain and affects individual. And I think that's one of the things that they miss, the individual experience have with this organization is not good. And they never address that. I've always wondered if they would ever do a series, Where Are They Now? All these people on the conventions and whatnot over the years, I would wish they would go back and say, hey, where's this person now? And I guarantee you'll be surprised. They're out of the pioneer work. They're out of the special. They're out of Bethel due to all kind of reasons, So, that's just one of the things I thought. But I appreciate your encouraging words, and I don't want to monopolize the time on the phone here. So you can mute me, Rick. I don't know how to do that, but.
Yeah, I just hit *6. My goodness, I'm so glad you called in tonight. Thank you. And I really appreciate that. I know it takes a little courage. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful, Rick.
Well, you know what it is, Brian? We've been getting...
Lovely young man, lovely person.
Yeah, he is. You can tell. And not only that, Brian, we have been getting, I don't know if you listened last week, but we had another woman call in. We had another woman even call in tonight. These are all new callers. This shows you the Watchtower is hemorrhaging, Brian.
Oh, yeah.
It's big time.
Yeah, it's going to be... It'd be kind of interesting to see. I wonder, I don't know what you think, Rick, but I wonder if once all of the restrictions are off in all of the provinces in Canada and states in the U.S., if they're going to open up these kingdom halls again. What's your sense on that? What do you think?
Well, I'm getting mixed messages. And, when we say something here, I like to say to people, don't take it to the bank and cash it. But I get people sending me mixed messages. I got some messages coming in here today from Eastern Europe. And over there, the people are saying that they're going to go back to the assemblies in spring of 2022. And so I heard that. And then I'm thinking what the Watchtower always does, Brian, they send out trial balloons. The Watchtower might have an elder in that area say it, and then it spreads around like crazy. But the Watchtower has not made any definite arrangements. You can get on jw.org and you can see there's nothing there saying they're going to come back in the spring of 2022. I really don't think they're ever going to come back again, Brian. That's my feelings on it. Yeah.
It's hard to say. I mean, all types of organizations, religious style organizations, are going to have received a lot of problems. All the churches, their revenue, like every church, like just stepping outside of whether or not we think Watchtower is a church or whatever you think about it. This type of organization, you got to have the people that are supporting whatever the local congregation is, whether it's a Baptist or Methodist or Episcopalian or a Jewish congregation, whatever it is. If the people aren't there, they're not contributing to the collection, and so yeah, you never know. Maybe they'll say, okay, this is a chance to get rid of a whole bunch of Kingdom Halls. On the other hand, they might say, holy mackerel, if we don't get these guys back at the Kingdom Hall giving us money again, it's going to be even worse. So I guess we'll see. I do know that here, the churches are starting to open up again. The restrictions are all off in Alberta completely. Everything's gone. All the mask mandates are gone. The only people that have to do any restrictions at all are healthcare workers. And in a few places, depending on who the mayor of the city is, they're being a little bit restrictive about public transportation like buses and that. But basically, it's all gone. So I think it'll be a pretty soon here by the fall, unless there's another really big spike in cases. We'll know what these churches are going to do, and then it'll be interesting to see what the Watchtower people do.
Well, that's exactly. Now you're calling in. I'll let the listeners know you're calling in from Alberta, Canada. So things are pretty normal up there now, right? They're getting back to normal. That's good.
Yeah, they took all restrictions off about at the beginning of the month. At the beginning of the month, they that was it. Everything, and there's hardly any cases anymore showing up. There's still the odd person dying, but again, it's always really, really old people, people who they got about 5 or 6 other things wrong with them already. So I guess we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Hopefully this is it. There's a lot of controversy about these vaccines, and but it is a fact that it's pretty well only people who didn't get vaccinated who are getting sick. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But it's been quite the ordeal. I hope it's over, but who knows? We might only be halfway through it. Don't really know yet.
Well, Brian, we're always glad to hear from you. You're a straightforward guy. We always love to hear from you coming in from Canada. Thank you very much, Brian. Well, there you go. Boy, oh boy, it's so good tonight. We got a lot of people calling in, and we got more news to talk about. I want to talk about this story right now. We've been talking here for the last 6 months about the mega media center that the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be building up there in Ramapo, New York. I think most of you guys have heard about it, but they're building a big, gigantic movie studio that, at least according to the information I got, it's as big as the Disney studios. I mean, is the Watchtower going overboard on this? Jehovah's Witnesses, in fact, I noticed this week in the paper up there in New York, Jehovah's Witnesses purchased a former Woodmont apartments to house the Jehovah's Witness Media Center workers. Well, that got my attention. Obviously, the Bible Society plans to use 7 of the 16 rental buildings to house volunteers when the project is approved and built. Well, what project? A gigantic media center. We've been talking about it. I know many of you guys have heard about it. It's a big video media center. The Watchtower wants to produce videos, send them all over the world like they're doing now. They want to make it more professional. They believe they need a $150 million studio to do it. I mean, for goodness sakes, even some of the big movie companies, Warner Brothers and Paramount and even Netflix, I mean, they all spend a lot of money, but, you know, the Watchtower isn't Netflix. Let's get real with this. So the Watchtower Society is seeking permission to build not a world headquarters, but near the world headquarters for an audio video production center in the town of Ramapo, New York. So now it just bought a rental housing complex on Route 17. That's a main drag. It's about probably 15, 20 miles away from Ramapo, but they'll bus the people up to the project. And they're looking for volunteers to come and stay there and help them build this project. Oh, my goodness gracious. So anyways, the society has purchased this complex, this apartment complex, friends. It has 384 units. That's a big apartment complex. That cost a lot of money. And well, anyways, they got it, and they claim they're going to be using a portion of it to house these volunteer workers coming in. I'm not going to go too on with this story because it kind of makes me sick. The Watchtower is kind of putting the horse before the cart. They don't even have the plans. They don't even have the planning board okaying this yet. But that goes to show you all the big guys are in bed with one another, right? They feel this must be going to happen. So they are going ahead. They bought this apartment complex with close to 400 apartments in it. And they're going to keep some of the workers there. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. The Watchtower, they are really lying. I went on there. They had a planning board meeting. Some of you guys might have saw it. It's on YouTube. It's on my YouTube. You can check it out. where I went in their Zoom meeting on the planning board. And I wanted to talk about this center. I wanted to talk about not letting them build it. I was very passionate about it. I wasn't like over the top. I wasn't argumentative. I came on the Zoom meeting. They allowed me to come in on the planning board. And as soon as I spoke up and said, I believe the Jehovah's Witnesses, a lot of people in Ramapo don't know who they are. I want to alert people to who they are. They shut me down. They muted me. I don't know who it was that muted me, but they said it was a lawyer. I called the Ramapo town office the next morning. I said, who was that guy that muted me? It was a public meeting. I couldn't speak up. And so they said the woman in the legal department at Ramapo town office, she said she thought it was a watchtower for the lawyer, a lawyer for the watchtower, I should say. So there you go. I mean, shut right down. So the big boys all play together. You know, they'll go forward. Ramapo is going to be known as the pedophile capital of the world. If they let this happen, thousands of Jehovah's Witnesses are going to go visit the movie site, the video studio. They're already looking for talent. The Watchtower is looking for young men, young women to come and be movie stars. My goodness, is that going to attract the young people in the Watchtower? I think it would. Who doesn't want to be a movie star? I don't know about being a movie star for the Watchtower, but let's get real with this. So, you know, it looks like they're going ahead with this. So that's all I can say. I don't have too much to say, but I could read you more about it. I'm going to tell you that where they're building this movie studio, I'm just going to give you some facts here. It's almost as big as the world headquarters in Warwick. Now, Warwick is about a mile away, maybe not even quite a mile. So this land that they're putting this video studio, mega video studio on, it's subdivided into 293 lots. It's 242 acres. This is huge. This is a huge complex. It's got facilities for over 600 people, dormitories. It's got everything you could think of. It's nothing more than another retirement center for the old fogies and all of the officials of the Watchtower. Now, they purchased the land where they're putting the mega video center. They purchased the land in 2009 for $11.5 million. We got to stop it. We cannot allow, but this is their last stance. If the Watchtower can't pull this off, which it looks like they're going to be able to, but if the Watchtower cannot pull this mega studio off, they're cooked. There's nowhere for them to go. They're going online. You're on with us. Go ahead. Speak up.
Rick?
Yes.
Yeah, Thomas Hotz here in Lawrence, Kansas.
Yes, Thomas.
I know it's a tough situation, everything going on, but it still would be nice if there could just be a good bunch of people, like a small army, go over there and just blanket the whole area with a bunch of tracts, literature, and you know, talk. Maybe they get on a like a bullhorn and just give a speech about how evil this organization is and let the community know. It'd be nice if you could hold a big meeting with the city, you know, and let them know, hey, look what's happened. At least give them a heads up so they know what they're in for, what kind of people they are, you know, the proof of everything that they've done, or a lot of the things, you know, and point this out so they know in advance.
Well, Thomas, I talked to the official. I wanted to, when they wouldn't let me on the Zoom call, and I went through all the protocol. They sent me an email. They sent me the password to get into Zoom. Now, when they had the meeting, I believe it was May 26th. They had the meeting a couple months ago. And so I came in. I was the first guy out of the chute. They said, Mr. Farron from Massachusetts, speak up, voice your concerns. So I came on and I said, you know, I'm not going to talk about the traffic issues and what have you. I just want to warn, or at least alert I want to alert the neighbors and the residents of Orange County and Ramapo, New York, of who the Watchtower really is. And that's all I got to say. And then they shut me down. And they muted me. So I couldn't say anything. So I raised my hand and they let me back in. And I said, I just have something to say. I'm going to be very respectful here. I'm not going to go overboard. Well, you can't bring that up here. Now is not the time to do it. So they said that you'll have to email your comments to us, which I called the Ramapo office the next day. And there were a number of us that actually did mail comments off. So they're reviewing them. And I talked to the woman in the Ramapo office the next day when they wouldn't let me on the call. I don't want to sound like a crying baby here, but I was terribly upset that I couldn't, get to speak. It was a public meeting. And, if the public's invited in, according to the newspaper, the public should be able to speak up. But anyways, I told the woman in the legal department, I don't know if she was a legal secretary or whether she was a lawyer, I'm not sure. But I told her I tried to come in last night on their Zoom call. And she says, I heard you, Mr. Ferrin. She said she did mention it wasn't right what they did. They blocked me. So I said, well, who was that man? Who was that man that blocked me? Was he a lawyer for the town? She says, no. She thought that he was a hired lawyer for the Watchtower. And of course, they would not let you say anything negative because a man came in after me on the Zoom meeting in the Ramapo office in their video. And he said the same thing. He said, look, I want to tell you about the Watchtower. I want to tell you who they are. Shut him right down too. So, the big boys seem to win, Thomas. You can do everything. But I'll tell you what, I like what you're saying. If all goes well in the fall, I'd love to go up there and get a group of people to meet me there, hold some signs up and spend a couple of days walking through the territory and talking about who the Jehovah's Witnesses are. Hopefully that can happen. Well, there you have it. You're on 6 screens, JW World News. Man, I'm telling you, more and more people are getting disgusted with the Watchtower. We have new ones calling in here. They're making themselves known. Of course, they have to come in incognito. And that is what's happening. Nobody really wants to let people know who they are because the Watchtower does a job on people. They make it very difficult. When a person leaves the Watchtower, you just can't leave it without having a lot of repercussions. But, I came across something and I'm so happy that this made my day. I'm so happy to see there's a documentary coming out. And it's coming out next week, I guess. It's called Vice Versa Crusaders. Well, that's the name of the documentary, Vice Versa Crusaders. And the director talks about confronting Jehovah's Witnesses with child sexual abuse, cover-ups, and he claims they're covering too much up. And not only that, he says that the Watchtower is full of corruption. Well, they got a new documentary. It's coming out this week. I'm going to play you a trailer. I'm going to put a trailer up so you guys can see it. If you're on the 6 screens, well, you'll see it. If you're on the radio network, you'll hear it. So let's put that up right now so you can see what's going on. Let's put that up so you see it right now. Let's get it in such a way here that you'll be able to see it. Let's get the...
I was baptized into the Jehovah's Witness religion when I was 15 years old, and I never questioned it.
I liked not being one of the masses who weren't enlightened.
I felt that I had won the lottery. I was born into the only true religion. I just wanted to know truth. I wanted to know what was real. Everything I had been taught was false.
There were adults in the congregation that knew about the abuse.
So much hidden documentation of child abuse that Watchtower does not want the public to know about.
I myself have been through a ton of abuse.
The problem of sexual abuse in the Jehovah's Witness organization is much, much more significant than in the Catholic Church.
The dirty little secrets are well kept.
Vice Versa presents Crusaders. Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses speak out.
Well, there you have it. I mean, that's a brand new documentary. It's going to be playing, I believe it's the 27th of July. I'll have more information on that for you, but I'll give you that information in just a while. But what do you think of that? That's totally amazing, right? So we like that. The more movies, the more documentaries, the better it is. So kudos to that. We want to thank the people for bringing that out. Let me give you some more skinny on that. Let's tell you a little bit about the movie. Let me just scroll down to my scroll down to where I can read some of this for you. But I tell you what, whenever I hear a new video coming out, whenever I hear anything about movies, radio programs, anything concerning the Jehovah's Witnesses, it gets my attention. A man by the name of Aaron Kaufman. Well, anyways, he is, he's a former Jehovah's Witness, longtime witness when he was younger. He is now a pretty major movie producer, major studios in Los Angeles. And he's talking about the Watchtower, and he loves to be able to bring forth a documentary about it. Kaufman, the witness, who was a witness, he's not now, but he tells the Hollywood Reporter he never talked much about being raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Even after he eventually glided away from the faith, he tried to never look back. Well, that's what many people do when they leave the Watchtower. They don't want to look back. And that was until he watched Alex Gibney's Going Clear. Well, that was a documentary concerning Scientology in the prison of belief, all about the Church of Scientology. He saw that. That got him thinking. He figured, wow, that is something else. In fact, at the top of his head, he said, nearly blew off when he saw that Scientology documentary. It says because there was so much that was similar between the Scientology experience and the witness experience, he recalled. That's down to the jargon used by both organizations. For example, as Scientology calls the shunning of wayward members disconnection, while the Jehovah's Witness referred to the same act of social exclusion as disfellowshipping. See that? So that's waking people up. They're seeing the same in some of these other cults. So he said, yet the Church of Scientology, especially after Tom Cruise's 2005 appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show, has come under a level of media scrutiny that the Jehovah's Witnesses and its Watchtower Bible and Tract Society leadership have avoided. They're trying to avoid anything that can show them up as being a cult. Kaufman, the former Jehovah's Witness producer, has aimed to change that in his new documentary, Vice Versa Crusaders. That's the name of it. An up-and-coming documentary. Friends, it's going to be on July 28th. July 28th, it makes its debut on Vice TV. I don't know. I don't know if I have Vice TV. I'm going to look. I think I might. I have all the packages that Comcast has to offer. So I hope I have Vice TV. My wife would know, but I don't know if I have it or not. But I hope I have it because I'd love to see it. So he is saying that it was amazing watching this video on Scientology. It kind of made him think a lot about his witness experience. He explains the organization is certainly involved here in a scandal in what they've been doing to people. So I'm looking forward to the movie. I am looking forward to the movie. Kaufman says he actually gained access to stolen Jehovah's Witness documents that included a secret database of child abusers in the Watchtower. So I want to hear what he has to say about that, but he's not going to dwell that much, according to Kaufman, on the child molestation cover-up. That's been already covered 1 million times, right? He wants to expose the corruption at the top of the Watchtower organization. Well, I thank you, Mr. Kaufman. Now, also, you know who's going to be on that documentary? A good friend of ours. She's been here on the 6 screens numerous times. Barbara Anderson. She's an ex-witness who worked in the Watchtower headquarters. Also, Amber Scora. Well, she talks about her trek in the Watchtower and others. Wow, they're going to be in this documentary. You don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss it. I'm getting excited already. I love it. I love it. The more the Watchtower is being exposed, the more I really, really love it. Well, it goes on and on and on. And, you know, another thing, too, I got to say that even in this movie, we're going to have Erwin Zalkin. He's going to be in the movie and then it's documentary. Well, he's a lawyer that's helping so many witnesses to be able to get suits charged against the Watchtower. So that's interesting. So there's a lot more here, but I can't cover it all here tonight. So there you go. I wanted to bring that attention to your attention tonight. So aren't you happy? I mean, don't you feel good when you turn the TV on and you see something exposing the Watchtower? Man, don't you think your friends, don't you think your Jehovah's Witness relatives are seeing some of this? I mean, do they have their heads completely buried in the sand? They got to be seeing some of this. I mean, let's get real with this. So anyways, I thought I'd let you know about that. So if you have the Vice TV, I got to check that out. I don't know if I have it or not. I'm going to check. But Vice TV, if not, I'm sure it'll be online a few days later on YouTube. So we're looking forward to that. So well, let's see what else we got here. I don't know if you saw this or not. Do you go to jw.org once in a while? Well, if you do, it might make you sick once in a while. I think we do have a caller coming in from California. You want to say something before we move on, caller?
Hey, Rick.
Yes, Anne Marie.
Thank you for bringing up Vice TV, VICE. This is the channel that I've been watching, Escaping Polygamy. And anybody who thinks that it's really hard to leave Watchtower, and it is, to see what these poor people go through. But I'm so glad you brought up this documentary because I feel so frustrated. A dear girl that I've known since I was like 12 or 13, she came into the witnesses, her whole family joined, and she's been out for about 25 years. She never got this fellowship, she just left. Well, she's one of those that even though she's physically out, she's still mentally in. She still believes, oh, they're just imperfect men. And when I posted about this documentary, she commented that, oh, all religions have this problem. At least Jehovah's Witnesses have learned how to deal with it in a godly way. I almost threw up all over my keyboard. I was so grossed out. This is a sweet, loving, sincere lady. Has a good heart. She's not twisted at all. But I almost felt like writing back, how would you feel if it was your daughter who had been raped or molested, or your son who had been sodomized, and you had had your child come to you crying, and you had gone to the elders, and they had covered it up and told you to keep quiet? Thank you, Rick.
Well, that's something else, Anne Marie. I know you have so many stories to tell, and I know you'll be right there watching that program, as many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses will. I don't know how many non-Jehovah, I don't know how many real Jehovah's Witnesses will be watching it, but I know a lot of the ex-witnesses will. All right, let's go to another subject here. Let's talk about something I saw on jw.org this week. Kind of concerning. And they have a big article on jw.org. The Jehovah's Witnesses opposed to vaccinations. Well, I thought it was kind of funny when I first saw it. Why do they need to even bring it up? I mean, they've always been against vaccination, so why do they even have to bring it up? Jehovah's Witnesses here, it looks like they're not opposed to vaccinations. According to their post on jw.org, it says, we view vaccinations as a personal decision for each Christian to make. Many of Jehovah's Witnesses choose to get vaccinated. All right. So many so they're kind of, what does that tell you in the very first sentence? It's almost as though they're endorsing someone to get vaccinated, right? The organization isn't going to tell them directly to get vaccinated because they don't want a lawsuit. That's the last thing they need, but they got hundreds of them going on right now. They don't want a lawsuit and backlash if someone has an allergic reaction or one gets some type of a breakthrough case and still ends up with COVID. They don't want to really come right out and say it, but they are insinuating. So they use this subtle way of coercing Jehovah's Witnesses to get it without actually directing or telling them to. Isn't that the way the Watchtower works? They kind of coerce you, but they actually sometimes don't tell you what to do. They're kind of suggesting it, but they're leaving it up to you, but you know what they want. So that if anything happens, they can say, well, we didn't tell you to get it. I mean, geez, these guys are so cozy. They're so sneaky. The bottom line is they need the large majority of Jehovah's Witnesses to get vaccinated in order to what? Go back to JW life in some capacity, since the majority of Jehovah's Witnesses are either old or poor, or some in good health, and some are all three. They are trying to push the vaccination without telling them, because some Jehovah's Witnesses will follow them even if they don't directly tell them. Yes, that's exactly right. So this is what they're trying to do. They're now also saying, I'm not going to read you the whole thing here off of jw.org, but they're saying that because of the COVID, the Bethelites have been totally isolated. They've had it in lockdown. They're saying all the Bethelites have got their vaccination. So, this is something that the Watchtower has always been very cozy about, but at one time they didn't want anyone to have vaccinations. Back in the 1950s, for example, many Jehovah's Witnesses did not get vaccinated. And I've told you before what the witnesses used to do. If they were in a very strict family and you had to get your polio vaccine, or you had to get other vaccines in order for you to go to school in America, you had to have a vaccine. I'll tell you what some of the witness parents would do. They would put acid on the child's arm, and it would burn them, and it would look like a vaccination mark. And then when they went into school for the new year, are you vaccinated, Julie? Oh yeah, look at my arm. There you go. I mean, isn't that fraudulent? Isn't that lying? But the witnesses did it. Can you imagine that? I mean, I can just imagine too. I mean, here they are on jw.org with an article. I mean, the title of the article, "A Jehovah's Witnesses Opposed to Vaccination." That's the title of the article. But then I'm thinking, what are going to be some of the other articles that they might come out with in the future? They're trying to use these Inquirer type headlines, right? So I'm thinking here they might come out with other articles as well. Things like, "You think you may know the truth about Lot and his daughters. Click here to find out." I'm just thinking some of these all over the top headlines. "Governing body member Tony Morris reveals," and they'll leave you hanging, so you want to get in. Why is love? This is why you're lonely and depressed. This is why you're lonely and depressed. Why? Then you have to click on jw.org. I'm just thinking, they're getting these headlines that are filled with sensationalism. But that's okay. Maybe they're just trying to get more and more readers, I guess. But they're so concerned about the COVID vaccination. I mean, there's really more healthcare decisions that are a personal matter, and except when it comes to what? Blood transfusions. Oh, they're going to tell you about the COVID virus and talk all about it. But when it comes to blood transfusion, there's a definite NO. Sign your blood card, no transfusion. Well, that's why what we try to do here is alert people. The Watchtower seems to be all one way. But if they're going to be on there telling people what to do for their health, why aren't they telling people, really stop and think about taking a blood transfusion? It really could save your life. Boy, I'll tell you, the more we get into some of this stuff, the more it got me thinking. I am so glad Satan kicked me out of his organization. It's not even funny. I don't know. I mean, I go through this stuff all week long, and I hope it's not affecting me. I hope I'm not getting too obsessed with it. But at some point, though, I feel satisfied. I feel very satisfied that I can bring you this information. If we can help just one person, if we can help one person see something, all you need is one little flaw. Like we always say, one little flaw can get you thinking of another flaw. And you see another flaw. Before you know it, you say, man, this is a corrupt organization. If you'd like to speak up, you're with us. All right.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, Anne-Marie.
I just wanted to wait a couple seconds in case somebody else wanted to speak. But a lot of people don't understand when you say that back then a lot of the witnesses would put acid on their child's arm to make it look like they had the vaccine. That was specifically to make it look like they had the smallpox vaccination, which back then was a little tiny needle that the doctor or the nurse would repeatedly punch into the child's arm in a circle. So there would be a small little circle that would just full of punctures of the needle. And that was a smallpox vaccination, how it was given to us back then. My mother started coming into the organization in 1960. And I remember these two older ladies who had served under Russell had told her that she wasn't supposed to, basically it's against Jehovah or whatever, to let her kids be vaccinated. And my mom had said, well, my kids are already vaccinated and I'm not going to stop now. I believe in vaccinations and I'm so glad. And when the polio vaccine became widely available, I believe late 61, 62, when we were all standing in line to get a dose in the sugar cube, I think you had to have 2 doses. My mom made absolute sure. And my mother had just gotten baptized in 61. And they were telling her that we weren't supposed to get the polio vaccine. And she put her foot down and she said no. And she made sure that all of us kids got vaccinated. I just wanted to make sure that people that are shaking their heads saying, well, that's what you guys were doing. How could you be so stupid? No, it was Russell and a lot of people were taught that we should not get vaccinated because vaccines were full of pus and demons and all kinds of crazy things. I've read it, but I don't remember the exact verbiage. But I do remember that the witnesses told my mother that it had been a disfellowshipping offense, that basically it's against God's will to get vaccinated. Thank you so much, Rick.
Well, you're welcome, and you're absolutely right with that. They used to really discredit vaccinations. Don't take it. It's pus. It's blood. Don't take it. It's bad for you. Well, thank you, Anne-Marie, for bringing that up. So anyways, you're still here with us. We're still grinding away with it. Now, don't you leave us. We have got a program coming up at 9:30. Well, you might go into full meltdown when you hear Reese. He's going to be coming on at 9:30. Watchtower and the Occult Connection. That's our new program every other Saturday night right here on the 6 screens. And friends, we go all night long. Reese has a program. And then after Reese, somewhere around 11 o'clock, we have a couple coming on, Apostle Babe and Daniel. And they have a program called Healing After the Watchtower. And they go all night long. So by all means, if you can't sleep and you like to listen in tonight, by all means, come into these programs. You're going to find them very interesting. That program late at night, that goes sometimes till 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock Sunday morning. And that's a place to come in and chat and talk with Apostle Babe and Dan. They would love to hear from you. And boy, the ex-witnesses let their hair down and they talk about their jobs. They talk about their marriage. They talk about so many things. So come into Healing After the Watchtower. That's about 11 o'clock tonight. Might be a little later. We might go a little later, maybe around 11:20, 11:30, because of Reese's program. Sometimes we extend it. Now, I'm not sure you guys saw this story, but it really got my attention. As a matter of fact, I like to sometimes have some of our ending stories a little bit crazy, a little bit over the top, but this one I would say is over the top. Did you know that a lot of Jehovah's Witness older single sisters are now looking for young Jehovah's Witness men to marry. Do you see this happening? Well, yes, it is happening. And it's not just one or two cases. Evidently, this is happening a lot in congregations. Many old single sisters are becoming very crazy about Jehovah's Witness guys. And they're interested in men that are way out of their league. As a matter of fact, some information that came into the 6 screens, one single sister, well, she was in her 50s, and she's now interested in men who are under 30 or a little above 30. That's 20 years difference. These men, she said, are good looking. They're ministerial servants and elders, and they got a lot of sisters all around them. I mean, you guys probably remember, too, what it was like back then when you were a young girl trying to find a good, decent man in the Watchtower. Well, now, you see, there is no way that these men, Jehovah's Witness young men, are interested in these women. I don't think. Yet some of them still think that they could get a relationship going, and some of them feel very jealous if they see younger sisters around the men's age hanging around them. What is going on here? This is absolutely crazy. And it's a number of sisters. It's not just one or two here. I'm saying this seems to be some type of a craze. Are they having mental issues? Are some of these women actually having mental issues, which makes them think that every young guy in the congregation is crazy about them? Come on. I mean, this can't be true. But yet they keep pursuing a relationship. And many of these people, they get jealous, like I say, when other sisters get around them. So I just wanted to bring that up. But something is going on. Now, some of these women, they evidently got mixed up somehow. Maybe the Watchtower told them not to find a boyfriend when they were younger. Maybe they pioneered. Maybe they, were told to wait till Armageddon. But now that Armageddon hasn't come, and now that they're getting older, they're beginning to say, hey, wait a minute. I got to get a boyfriend. I got to find a boyfriend. Well, why don't they try to find a boyfriend their own age? Well, why is it that they would, be looking for younger brothers? That doesn't sound feasible to me, but I mean, that's what they're doing. So, well, maybe there isn't maybe a lot of the older brothers get up and pack their bags. Maybe these younger brothers are available. I'm not sure. But go ahead. What do you think? New York, you're with us.
Rick, that's nothing new about the young Bethel brothers, especially falling in love with the older sisters, because even a brother, JW wrote his life story, and he even mentioned that some Bethelites married older sisters. Even in the congregation I grew up in, a Bethelite married an older West Indian sister. Her children, when they married, were teenagers, and he was much younger. And I mean, since my mother died, I really don't get the info of what's going on. But like, she had 4 or 5 kids before him. They had one together. And according to this brother that was in Bethel, that's nothing new. The young Bethelites, I mean, they send them out to the congregations. So if there's not a younger sister their age, they look toward, I guess another female, an older female.
Well, you're absolutely right, Shirley, because I even know that happened here in the territory that I live in. I couldn't believe it. There was actually a woman studying to be a Jehovah's Witness. This young, really handsome, 6'2", dark hair, good-looking guy, 18, 19 years old, pioneer. He started studying with this divorced woman. She was 40 years old. And he fell in love with her. And boy, that was the talk going around the congregation. And this woman wasn't anything to write home about, I'm telling you. But even the young, handsome brother, his parents, he was still living with his parents, and his father went ballistic. And the woman he was studying with had 2 children. And he's saying, do you understand what's going on here? He was trying to discourage it. She was 20 years older than him. They got married, Shirley. They got married.
Yes. Yeah, like I said, in my congregation, and I'm sure your congregation, my congregation, it's not the only one. Like the brother I said a couple of years ago, he wrote his life story. He posted it on another XJW site. He said, you know, what are the young guys supposed to do? I mean, there's nothing wrong with companionship, but if there's nobody in their age range, I guess, you know, they just take what's available, more or less, you know.
Yeah, so the story didn't come across as too unusual to you, huh?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Well, see, there's some odd things that happen, but I mean, not only in the witness world, but it happens in the real world too. But I think it has a tendency to happen more.
Shirley.
Yes, you're on with us. Go ahead.
Hey, that story Shirley was mentioning there about that Bethel brother. I think I might even know that brother. I served at Bethel, and it was a brother, good friend of mine. He married a sister in a Brooklyn congregation that was older. She was a West Indian sister. I think she was a
you're
Haitian
in Brooklyn.
background.
You see how common it happens? I'm in Queens. You're Brooklyn. I'm Queens. So it happens all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't live in Brooklyn anymore, but
okay.
I was there. Yeah, I was
you
there.
might know. I mean, I don't want to mention his name here, but you just might know the brother because he was a Bethelite, but you just might know him.
Yeah, I was there from 93 to 98. I was there in Brooklyn.
Yeah, you just might know him. You just might know him.
Yeah.
You just might.
Yeah, I was a Harlem congregation, and then I went to a Brooklyn congregation, whatnot. But anyway, when you was telling that story, I was like, man, I wonder is that my buddy she's talking about, because he did the exact same thing. But I had to come off mute when you said that, Shirley. But anyway, I'll go back on mute. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. That's okay. Can we mention first names here, Rick?
Oh, sure. You can mention first. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I believe his first name was Art or Arthur, the brother I'm talking about.
No, the brother I'm speaking about, his name was Henry.
Oh, okay. This brother's first name was
Henry.
Arthur. His first name was Arthur, I believe. But like I said, it happens all the time. It's nothing new, nothing unusual. It happens all the time.
Well, there you go. This man just told us. He said the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in a congregation, and when I served at Bethel in Harlem, sisters would make great meals. You know, you go out on for service after work on Saturday and whatnot. They make these nice meals, and you know, you just get, you know, they don't have much money or whatnot, and you know, they get you nice neckties, shirts, and you know, you're young, and you know, it could be attractive, you know. They pour a little honey in your ear, and you know, there you go. You know, I mean, it didn't happen to me, but you know, it almost.
You say it almost did. Yeah. Well,
it almost did. It didn't, but it almost.
Yeah. That's funny. But you know, I can see this opens up a whole new idea here for me. I can see this does happen. And you mentioned, you know, they go to the home and the sister cooks them a meal and she puts her pretty dress on, and my goodness, this could happen easily. This could happen easily. Yes. Oh my goodness, that's good. Thank you. Yeah. So you're on with us. Anyone wants to speak up? Come on in right now. Hit *6. Boy, I'll tell you, who would ever think that? And boy, this is really something that's going on right now. There seems to be a lot of older sisters, as I said, looking for younger men. Well, my goodness, we had a lot to talk about here tonight. But
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. You're on with us.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, hi, what family. It's Kim from New Jersey.
Hi, Kim.
Hi. How you doing?
Well, doing good tonight. Doing really good, yes.
You're here. I'm home. I'm recovering from surgery, so you know, I'm surprised to hear about brothers, you know, studying with young women and vice versa. I thought brothers are even supposed to allow. They didn't allow men to study with, you know, women or vice versa. You are supposed to be, you know, women study with women and men study with men. What's going on?
Well, no, I don't know if they might be studying with them, but, you know, like the brother just said, he's an ex-Bethelite. He was talking in here, and he said, you know, that after a meeting, they'd go give a talk at a congregation, and then the sister would invite the young man over for a meal. And, I would hope they had a chaperone there. I mean, everyone else needs a chaperone. So they'd invite the man over, the young Bethelite over, and they'd have a meal. And, she'd kind of cozy up to him. That happens, Kim. That's the world we live in. And the older witness women seem to be taking advantage of that lately.
Hello?
Yeah, I thought that was supposed to happen.
Yeah. Go ahead. You're on with us. Yeah, go ahead, sir. Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is Zachary. Can you hear me right?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you good.
Am I clear? Okay. I just want to say, the idea of this 20-year difference,
Zach,
it happens with men 20 years older than women, and it doesn't raise eyebrows as much. So that's an interesting dynamic right there. But I remember when I was at Bethel, there was a couple that I used to see a young brother talking to an older woman, older sister all the time. And I just thought, she must be his aunt maybe. And I used to think that. Then I found out they were married. And I'll say the last name because everybody knew them. The Rices, I think the last name was. Yeah, they were married. It happens. And I also saw it happen in where a brother was 26 years old, the sister was 52 years old. And, they were always together. No one made anything of it. You just thought they were chit-chatting. And, one day it was announced they were getting married. They did not give a lot of time between their announcement and their the day they would get married. They didn't leave a lot of room for talk, but I've seen it happen. And he it's not that he needed financial assistance. They just seemed to fall in love. And they were married, yeah.
Well, it can happen, Zach, that's for sure. So,
yeah.
So the story doesn't seem to be too far over the top, right?
Not to me.
Yeah, well, lately, like I say, there's more of it going on. A lot of these sisters, now that Armageddon hasn't come, and now that they're living kind of a life of not having a mate, geez, I'll tell you, they're on the prowl,
Yeah. I'm sure there are brothers who are on the prowl too. I don't know. Sisters get a bad rap. They're on the prowl, but brothers are just looking for a mate.
Yeah.
They're looking for a mate,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself.
All right, good. Thank you. Very good. Well, there you go. That's Zach calling in from the video suite. Boy, I'll tell you. So all good things are happening. Wow. A lot of people calling in. Yes, go ahead.
Look, a woman's libido is in full drive at about age 40. And for a young man, it's around age 20. So maybe it's a little more than spirituality. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's Dick. I mean, Dick studies this stuff. He reads the books about this. He's our resident sexual examiner here on the 6 screens. So there it is. Yeah, so he gave you the skinny on that. So there you go. I mean, I thought when I first saw the story that, this is going to get some, bad attention because is it really true? Yeah, it is. It really, really is. We had a number of people solidify that tonight. My goodness.
Can you handle one more?
I can take one more, yes.
You're so kind. Thank you for your patience. What Zachary was saying, he just made me want to speak up. He is so right on the money. You guys all know the story of me talking to the Jehovah's Witness mother of my dear friend that was my best friend, Jehovah's Witness friend, when I was a kid. And the mother told me how her daughter had married an abusive guy and the elders had come and they listened to her being raped and beaten by her Jehovah's Witness husband. And, do you remember that?
Yes.
Well, she told me also she was single. She had been single for many years. And she was talking about how hard it is for the older sisters to get younger brothers' attention. Now, I'm talking about a woman who's in her late 40s, early 50s, going after guys in their 20s. And she's talking about the only way to meet brothers legitimately is to go out in service. So they would have as many service opportunities, and would you come with me on my return visit? Or there's a Bible study I'd like you to go on, with young men, and maybe you could help me with this study. But it was all about all these things the older sisters had to do to try to get the attention of the younger brothers. And I also heard that the younger brothers, who of course are not stupid, they know what's going on. Like Zachary said, maybe they need a little help financially, so they see that there is an advantage of having an older sister, possibly maybe marrying her, because one, they're more grateful that they got the attention and got the younger guy. They're more experienced, and they usually have money, a house, a car. Yeah, and this has been going on since I can remember. I don't think this is anything new. It's probably just now being talked about more. Thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Anne Marie. Yeah, so it was a good topic, and I want to thank all those people that wanted to come in tonight and speak up here on the 6 screens, JW World News. Yes, go ahead.
Everybody loves talking about that subject, Rick.
Boy, I'll tell you, that got a lot of attention, Brian. Yeah. Well, thank you, Brian. That's I find that I try to end the newscast here with something light. I try not to overburden the people's minds. So that was a light little thing, but it brought some attention in. But thank you, Brian. Appreciate your comments tonight. We're going to Reese. If you haven't listened to Reese, man, this guy is unbelievable. He is a conspiratorialist extraordinaire. He's going to be coming on next right here on the 6 screens. He has his own program. It's called Watchtower in the Occult Connection. Now, I mentioned earlier, if you're listening in on our Facebook program, if you're listening in on our YouTube, that is going to be disconnected. The current administration in Washington will not let us air Reese. We have been notified of this. We cannot air Reese. We're going to have him on our radio telephone line and on our private 6 screens video suite. So he will not be on Facebook and on YouTube. But if you guys want to listen to him, go to 6screensofthewatchtower.com. Scroll down till you see the number to dial in. If you're in a different country, we have a number of countries you can call in for free. Or if you just want to listen on our video suite from all over the world, scroll down till you see video suite, hit the link, put your name in there. It does not even have to be a real name. It can be a fictitious name, and you can listen. So we'll be disconnecting in about 5 minutes. We'll be disconnecting YouTube and Facebook. Well, I want to thank everyone that came in here tonight, and especially those that called in. We had some new callers calling in tonight. I really want to tell you that means more to me than anything. If you want to see the 6 screens continue to move and continue to grow, go ahead and keep calling in like that. And another thing you could do is join our Facebook group, 6 Screens of the Watchtower Facebook group. And another thing you could do is on Facebook, like us. And on YouTube, subscribe to us and like us. And that'll keep the wheels of progress moving here at the 6 Screens Tele Network. I am so proud to be able to have all of these different programs by former Jehovah's Witnesses that come in and they take their time to do great programming. And we have 17 programs right now that are running on the 6 screens. JW World News is just one of them. So I want to reach out and tell all of those people that have programs, I really appreciate it. And keep up the good work. And I also want to send out a greeting to all of the activists. John Cedars, or as we now know, Lloyd Evans is his real name. And also others, Mike and Kimmy, and all the people, Smurf Girl and Critical Thinker, and there's so many. I want to thank all the YouTubers and all those people that are activists and want to speak out against the Watchtower. So continue to move forward. Don't you guys ever give in, up or out, and keep waving the flag of victory. And also I want to say that tomorrow we will have a 6 Screen Sunday. We have a Sunday program. Now, on Saturday night, we do not go into theological teachings. We do not preach here on Saturday night because of the delicateness of many witnesses getting out. They don't want to jump out of the frying pan into the fire. But if you left for theological reasons and you want to hear what many former Jehovah's Witnesses believe when they get out of the Watchtower, join us tomorrow, beginning at 1 o'clock, Knowing God. We have two Christian apologists. They come on at 1 o'clock. Jody and his friend will be on with us tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We'll have them. And then, of course, we have JW World News at 2 o'clock. And then we have Anne Marie comes on at 2:30. She has a program searching for truth in the New World Translation. Not that she supports the New World Translation, but she says you can find the truth in the New World Translation. And tomorrow she's going to be talking about the Watchtower's plan of salvation versus God's plan. So that is something that we're looking forward to. And of course, Jay Hess. If you've never heard Jay, he has a program as well. It's called Making Disciples with Jay. He'll be on at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Friends, Jay Hess at one time was associated with the Watchtower Writing Department. He has a program here. You'll answer any Bible question you have. Check it out. Check out Six Screen Sunday beginning at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Thank you very much for coming into the news. You guys keep standing tall, as I say. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower. By all means, turn off the new light. Now, before we go to the next program, I've got to disconnect. Give me a second here. I got to disconnect YouTube. So we're going to end that. And also, I'm going to go